All right, so I'm gonna do the basic stuff first with installing this hitch, right? There's a 5mm screw under here. There are two of them. So we're gonna take that out and remove this rear. Already took out one already. I had this off already earlier, but there's a plug that when you pull it out, just remember to unplug it. And when it goes back in, it just snaps back into these little slots, and that's it. So you gotta use a little force to pull out, not too much, but just enough to get it out. Now, there's a little tab that you use a screwdriver to pull out. We have to take this off, okay? That has to come off. I'm doing a whole lot of work already, so that's why my bike is already taken apart. But there's a little tab. You take a screwdriver, and you pull this tab out. When you finish with that, and you're ready to put it back together, you could push this tab in. You can push it in, and then push this in, and it will snap in its place. And then there are two screws, 1, 2 bolts that needs to be removed as well on both sides. One of the things you have to also do is you have to remove your seat, okay? And once again, I have my bike already taken apart, but it's not difficult. There's a little thing here, this little panel. You have to open up your tour pack, and it's held by these little tabs. All right, and you pull that out, okay? The reason why you're doing that is because you need to gain access to this bolt right here, okay? And that is it's a 6mm. And that when you get that on both sides, you pull the seat up from the front and then pull towards the motorcycle. So once you get this stuff here, remove those bolts, right? They want us to slide this forward. So this is held together by some rivets, but what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna get this out the way completely. There's a little tab that holds this. We need to remove these, which are 12mm bolts. So let's get those out. You're gonna do that on both sides. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna put this in the opening, just so I ain't gotta worry about where that screw went. All right, so now we're gonna take this whole muffler system off, because remember, you wanna gain access to everything that's back here, all right? Inside here, there is a 12mm bolt. There's a 12mm bolt that's running through here, and I don't wanna use my lift up and down, so I'll get down here to the ground, use an extension arm, and the bolt for me is already out, but the bolt goes right here. This is the bolt, okay? It's a 12mm, and once you remove that, then you're gonna take this lock point, this clamp, and loosen that clamp up. Mine is already loose because I was doing some work on this bike already, and then we're gonna remove this by taking your time, and you're gonna wiggle this thing out, and you take off your exhaust. Put it someplace safe. All right, so now we have the seat removed, the side panels, we have the whole exhaust system taken off. That's number 6, right? Now, number 7, it says, remove the two 12mm bolts and nuts in 5A. So in the instruction, these pictures are great. In 5A, it says 5A and B. All right, let me show you guys what we're talking about, because it's gonna be hard for the camera to get the angle when I'm doing the cut, I'm taking this out. There's a bolt and a nut here facing the bike. Okay, I'm standing, I'll show you the direction we're at. And then there's another one right there. So that's gonna be a little tricky to get out, but you're gonna need a wrench and a socket, okay? So we're taking those out. So if I go back and I'm looking at the bike towards the rear, it's left corner, right there, and then right corner, right there. All right, so I'm using a 12mm socket and a 12mm wrench, right? I'm just gonna reach in, and it's a little tricky because I could tell that this thing is gonna try to eat, it. And you know what? I have an extension arm. An extension arm will make it easier to grab. And before I do that, let me get a magnet. So I just put a magnet on one end, and hopefully it'll transfer the energy into the bolt. Oh man, it would be nice if I had a 12mm on here, right? And not a 10. That's what we're talking about. Guys, when you're wrenching your motorcycles, man, I don't care if it's your Harley Davidson, your Gold Wing, your Indian, I don't care. You just gotta have fun doing it because you're gonna lose bolts. It's gonna drive you nuts. You're gonna want to curse at everybody. And that's the fun part to me, you know what I'm saying? Man, this is tight. Gotta bring out the big guns with this. That little one wasn't doing a darn thing. All right, there we go. Come on, magnet, stay, do the trick. All right, so what I did, I just turned the socket. The wrench, and let this thing hold. My magnet was working a bit, it still held it. Not as strong as I would want it to, but hey. And you're gonna do the same thing on the other side. Let's keep it going. All right, let's see if we get as lucky with this one as we did with the other one. This one has a lot of wires, a lot more wires. This stuff is nice and tight. I might have to cut the zip tie. All right, so the trick to this is you have to use a super extended arm because this is, if you have a short arm, it's not gonna go to the curve, so you could strip the bolt. So just get yourself a long extension arm, like this. You see this? I just added two of them together. So you can go to Harbor Freight, get yourself, I gotta go and get me a few more extended arms as well, like the long ones that's already just extended without any attachments. But hey, you do what works, right? There you go. You see? So we got that part done. Now, let's take that bolt out and let's keep it moving. Gold wing, baby, gold wing. All right, so I went underneath the bottom and I pushed up the strut. The strut is gonna go up with this piece right here, that way. Just gotta be careful of some of these wires that's down here. Like I said, my apologies, you can't really see what I'm doing, but talking you guys through it as best as possible. Now remember, this piece right here goes this way to the front of the bike, okay? The front of the bike. So I have to look under this and find that gap. You know, you're looking down underneath it and you're finding a gap to drive the strut up to the top. And the curve, it will go over where it needs to go to once you get it up. Now I need a second eye. Move this out the way. All right, there we go. I got the strut up. Okay, the strut is up through that opening. Make sure we don't got no wires in the way. This wire is definitely in the way. So you have to reroute those wires so they're not in the way. Okay, you know when you have it lined up. And now they want us to take those bolts that came supplied with this, with the system. They want us to take that a bolt and run that bolt through. Let's get this bolt through. And like I said, some of these wires are really tight. They're tight. So if they're too tight, just get a little snipper and cut it. The zip tie, not the wire. All right, doing good so far. So the reroute is not difficult. So now we could plug back in. I could plug back in these wires here and put it where it's supposed to be. Let me make sure that this could fit back in here. I'm talking to myself. Mind your business. All right, so there we go. So that's gonna be the white. That's pushed back in. And this is gonna be the brown. And that's pushed back in. Make sure we have enough slack and it's not putting any unnecessary pressure on this. I don't like how that feels with the white one. So I am going to check to see what's the best alternative for rerouting this. All right, so now I feel better. I don't have any unnecessary tension on these wires. What I did, I just routed it underneath. I mean, I know it says route under, but it's not very, very clear. But I routed underneath the lines that was there already, and I'm making sure that I don't have anything that's pinching the line, right? Because that's the last thing I need is to pinch the line. All right, I have the bolts in. Let's move on. All right, this is where it gets a little tricky. You're gonna need to have a grinder, okay? And there's a well nut thing here. We're gonna have to cut that off. There's a couple of wells. We're gonna just cut through those wells and then smooth it down. I know it's a little scary for those who never really used a grinder, but this is the part that you learn something new if you never used a grinder, okay? So like I said, we're gonna cut that down. Let me find an angle of where I wanna be at. All right, let's go. All right, so we got that off. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna change out this little wheel, and I'm going to smooth it down a bit. I know you're like, what the hell? Nope, I'm just gonna bring it to the dealership, and I'm gonna have them do it. Thank you very much, Sensei, but no thank you. You had me. Everything else I could do, but this part is problematic. I'm gonna see if I have any paint, black paint that I could spray on here. No black paint. Let me get some black paint to spray on there. All right, so we're gonna do the same thing on the other side, same exact treatment. A lot of fun. No, it really is. I love stuff like this. Guys, I know this might seem difficult, but for real though, it's not. It's just learning new tools. If you never used a grinder before, just go and get one, man. Mine, I took off my guard, but you know, it's important to use the guard just to keep yourself safe. All right, this is gonna be a little tricky. All this stuff is, I'm moving as I'm learning, right? But honestly, this is the right side. These brackets, it just goes one side. And from what I'm seeing, this is gonna go and attach here. I'm not sure if that's the proper bolt, but I'm gonna use that as a space holder. And I'm sure it's the right bolt because that's what they show in the picture. But I'm gonna use this as a space holder. Let that do what it do. And I'll take these nuts, put the nuts there. These nuts! Nah. Yeah, I'm crazy. All right, so I'm just gonna put that as a space holder. I'm not tightening anything down, right? Because if I made any errors, I'll be able to go back and easily fix. I just want this to hold a spot. All right, so listen, I could not record everything to show you guys, so I'm holding the camera. I'm just gonna show you guys what I did, right? So if I zoom in, I'm in the back of the bike. So remember, this is my left, and this is my right. So I'm in the rear of the motorcycle. If you come under here, let me just grab my light, and I'm gonna put this light up here to get some reflection. So when you come underneath this, right, there is the bar that's gonna run, this bar right here is gonna run all the way under, all the way out, and it's gonna connect to where the crash guard is, the saddlebag guard. There is a spacer on the left side. Let me get the light going so y'all can see it. There's a spacer right there. That's where the spacer goes. It goes in between that groove. Make sure that spacer is the thick one. The thick one goes on the left. And the bolt squeezes, you put it in and you lock it in right there, okay? Now, when you put the guard back on, make sure that that guard, it goes behind the frame, not in the front, okay? Let me zoom in a bit. It goes behind the frame, not in the front, all right? So let me just hold this camera again. Once again, the spacer, also my left. Now, let's go over here to the right. Same thing. Let me find that spacer. So the spacer this time that I used is right here. That's the thin spacer. Okay, that spacer is the thin one. Let me zoom in a bit. You can see it. I know it's gonna be hard to focus it, but that's it right there. Let me give you the light. You see it? That's the spacer. Now when you connect it, it's gonna connect right here. There's a bolt, a long bolt. You use that long bolt and you use another long bolt here. This bolt stays the same. That bolt stays the same. That one, you don't change that bolt, okay? The same thing on the other side. And also with the hitch system is pretty simple. This just goes into that and you screw that in, that locks it into place. You have your pinholes to lower or to increase. The bolts connects right there, all right? That's 2 bolts, and then the same thing as this one. Yeah, there we go. Same thing as that one. And that's pretty much how it's set up underneath. Let me just go again and just zoom back so you guys can kind of see it again from under. See the bracket, the curve in the bracket? Hold on a second. So you see the curve on the bracket? So you see it? It curves in, and that's the right side, all right? And there's a lip. There's a lip right there. That's how you know you're on the right side. And this is the left side. See where the lip is at? And don't worry, I'm gonna give you guys the model number, everything that this thing is built from. This is nice and steady. So now we're gonna go to the top and we're gonna situate the top. All right, so I got the bolt in on the other side. It's really tricky because you're trying your best not to lose this bolt. But what I'm doing is just trying to figure out the best angle that I can work this thing in. But the other side was easier. This side is not. So what I'm doing, I'm holding this in place and I'm aiming to press this against that opening to see if I can get us to line up, which I did. And that's perfect. So all I'm gonna do now is just get my ratchet and tighten this bad boy down. There we go. Nice. All right, we're gonna tighten this up. 22 foot-pounds. It says to torque it between 18 to 22 foot-pounds. I'm gonna tighten it down to 22 foot-pounds. There we go. That's 22 foot-pounds. Like that click. All right, I'm gonna tighten this bolt here also. There you go. And this one is held by a wrench. I mean a nut on the end. So I'm gonna grab that nut. Remember the size nut that this thing is connected to. It was a 12 mil. Is it a 12 mil? It's supposed to be a 12 mil, but that's not fitting. All right, there we go. There you go, the click I'm looking for. All right, so we do the same thing on the other side. All right, so check this out. One of the things that I noticed on social media, when people do videos, man, they don't really show you the problems that you can encounter. They'll just show you the finishing touch. But here's a major problem that I ran into. After putting everything together, right? The bar goes right here. So I wasn't able to get it. It was impossible for me to get this bolt and this nut on together, right? So I had to remove the bar and loosen up the exhaust again to get access to this. Now I don't remember seeing in the instructions if they said that we have to do that. They only show basically to connect everything, but they didn't tell you about this problem. So I had to take the bar off because there would have been no way for me to gain access to the bar, to this bolt with the bar in the way. So now I loosen it all up. There we go. And now the exhaust is tight. And now I can take the bar that I had before and I could put that bar back up in its place. That's the only way that this would have worked. No other way would this have worked. So remember, this bar is the one that I took off here. You see what I'm saying? So I got to get that back up, get it lined back up to the bolts and everything else, and take it from there. All right, there we go, guys. We got the hitch installed, a couple of lights installed, feeling good, feeling great. Get your tools, man. Don't be afraid to try to work on your motorcycle. Doesn't matter what kind of bike you got. I never worked on a Gold Wing until I bought a Gold Wing. I got the Gold Wing ripped apart. I got it completely taken apart. And I got more things to do because I have to install the handlebars. So I have to take off everything off the handlebar, everything. Got to take off the top console. I got to do all of that, right? And install the handlebar. But you know what? I don't have to do any of that. This is all based on preferences of just making my bike comfortable to me. And I got the rims that's coming in. I got a lot of different things that's on its way. Only thing that's chrome is this piece on my bike. So now I'm thinking about getting this changed out too. I wonder if I can get this powder coated a different color. But the only problem why I'm gonna leave it is the powder coat. When you have the trailer and stuff, that stuff gets chipped up pretty easy. So it's chromed for a reason. All right. So anyway, this is Sensei telling y'all, let's get these miles, let's get that money, let's get the muscle. I am so excited to bring this Honda Gold Wing on the road. I miss riding. I want to take a long ride and just get it going, baby. Let's go. Peace.